No,
So here's a ridiculous question. Do you
it comes and goes. Yeah. It's kind of like a Shinzen expansion contraction. It's just like I'm contracted and I'm focused on something that I really don't even know what I'm focused on, and then it's like everything else just isn't really quite there. And then then I can choose to just like expand my awareness out to and try to improve it if I can. So that's how I experience it. Kind of like, I'm narrow. And now I try to get bigger and now narrow. Yeah, it's just expansion and
Yeah. One of my cousins from New York is like her really nice. I've seen it for it's little. Going out around there. Yeah. Well, no, not that one. The different going up. Some other programs. And then that other week, yeah, so that was stuff. So I'll be quiet and stare at sir.
Something I've been doing for the past 2 months.
We as a community, we have a lot to be grateful for. Coming back into this community after being physically away for a few months. Coming into your presence, it's clear that we have a great deal to appreciate. It's unusual. It just is unusual in the world for a group of people that come together with an understanding of the importance of the cultivation of our minds. It's just unusual. You don't see a lot of it. But here we are. We've come together. We actually have taken the time to be here together. It's close to the solstice. Another few hours of light sunlight out there, and here we are inside together with an understanding of the importance of cultivating, of purifying our own minds. It's not so common. In many ways, it's the opposite direction that so much of the world is striving in. It's very common that we see problems and the solutions are to be found by changing other people's minds. If we could just change how those other people are, then the world would be a better place. But we are here striving on a path that actually leads somewhere. That's because of great good fortune. It's great good fortune. And there's a path that leads to being ordinary, to being simple, being happy, being honest, and free. That's unusual. We've cultivated this opportunity and now we have it. And coming here, it's clear that we have a lot to be thankful for. So, I just had the opportunity to go to a lodge, purification lodge, a sweat lodge. When was it? Is that yesterday? Mm-hmm. Yesterday. A few days or years ago, yesterday, went to a lodge, and the leader said, one of the things he mentioned is, more and more as the years go by, people seem to be interested in telling their personal stories. That is fine, but that's not exactly what we're here for. So I don't have a lot of personal story to tell in the past couple of months. A lot of struggle and a lot of happiness. So there you go. That's what happened.
Same here.
Yeah. So it's not a very, it's a story, but it's not a very personal story.
It's just how it goes. So, so there we are. But I had a chance to write some poems, which I thought I might share. Could you get my phone? You know where it is? Yeah. So they're like haiku. They're very short. Most of them are just one sentence, short sentence, but they have titles. That's my version of a haiku. It's out in the car. And maybe you'll enjoy them. Hope you enjoy them. And then I thought I'd teach you some of the stuff I learned. It's somewhat technical, but that's actually what's helpful. So I hope it's helpful. The main thing that I saw, especially coming back, is that we talk about the two sides of the practice. Talk about awakening and responsibility, wisdom and compassion. And again, one of the things that's beautiful about this community is the understanding of how important it is for these to fit together. Lyda and I, a few days ago, had pancakes for breakfast, and we only had a certain amount of mix. And we tried adding water to make more pancakes, which doesn't exactly work. You can add gallons of water, but it doesn't make more or better pancakes. If you have a certain amount of mix, then you just have a certain amount of mix. That's how many pancakes you get. You can't have more than that. You can have a few more by adding a little more water and making a little less delicious pancakes. You can pretend to make crepes, but they're bad. And they're not any more filling than the 2 pancakes would have been. Thank you. And so sometimes it's better to just accept that this is the amount of mix we have, and so this is the number of pancakes we're going to eat. Or go to the trouble of buying more flour and such, and then you can have more pancakes. So sometimes the Buddha would tell little stories like this. And he would typically at this point say, this metaphor has meaning, it's not without meaning. And perhaps wise people here can understand the meaning of the metaphor. And then he would explain it. So the explanation is that if we have a certain amount of ethics, we have a certain amount of ability to follow our conscience, a certain amount of dedication to responsibility, then that's like the pancake mix. Then you can add meditation, insight, clarity, even very deep experiences of, you could say, enlightenment. But no matter how much of that you add, if you only have a certain amount of ethics and conscience, you're actually not going to get any more spirituality. You're just not. You can meditate a lot, you can become very clear and such, but if we're living a life of compromised conscience and half-hearted happiness, then there you are. That's how many pancakes you get. Then you can meditate. If you don't do any meditation, of course, then that's just dry and tasteless, and hurts as you swallow it. But after a certain point, you have to find a way to change our lifestyles even more. And some of us have the excellent fortune, a shockingly magnificent good fortune to actually live together in a spiritual community, a monastery, or some other community like that, in which we have a group of people to hold us accountable, and every decision is debated regarding its ethics and benefit to ourselves and others. Sometimes that feels tiresome, but it's actually easy, because there you are. Can't escape. But even if we don't have that, we still have the ability to make changes, to live a monastic life in a home with some other kind of a job. We have that ability. And as we give ourselves to those choices, those ethical, caring, compassionate choices, then good news, the water that you add of the meditation, the pure water, that has no flavor of its own at all. It can't even be seen if it's still enough. It can't be held. You can try to pick it up, and you can't. That pure water can make a lot of very good pancakes for the world. And ourselves, of course, we get to eat a little bit too. But it's plenty. You don't need more. You can make plenty. You can make trillions of pancakes. You don't even need to eat 10 of those trillion and you're full. So even among spiritual communities, this point isn't always understood. Sometimes there's a sense we're just going to try to swallow this dry pancake mix somehow, and just be, not to put the wrong word on it, but just be socially responsible. That's good, of course. And yet there's still the sense there that changes on the outside are going to make the difference. Or we can give up on the world and say, well, I'm going to go with the purity, and then we get a lot of thin, unfilling, I don't know what they are, just bad pancakes. But in this group, we seem to understand the importance of balance here. And that is very impressive. That's very impressive. So thank you for that very impressive understanding. More significant, I think, than any other understanding that the human race has come to in the past, well, 10,000 years or so. Certainly 100 years. So thank you for that. So I just thought I'd read a few of these poems, and maybe you'll enjoy them. They're short. I'll read some of do this in order. I'll try to do it somewhat in order. Okay. Well, this one's called I think I'll start with this one. This one's called Yes. The glade, the moss, the wind.
Nice.
Thank you. This one's called Feeble. Where did you come from that you are so alone? And this is River. This tingling energy is life or death. This one's called happiness. The whole world completely misses the point. And this is do it. You aren't going to do it. You're going to lose it. Freak out if you must. This is called go. The way is clear. Take it. And this is walk. The path through the obstructions is beautiful, so don't rush. It's happiness, so don't wait. And this is direction. The airplane's flickering lights move across the sky quickly. The stars' flickering lights move across the sky slowly, because the stars know where they're going. This is called obvious. Forms look like this, but something else is happening. This is leadership. Be great by humbly accepting the shivering request. This is called all. How to be happy and true in this world. And this is intimate. Where is fear of death when even life can't be found? And this is peace. One star shines through the branches for one moment. This is trustworthy. If you give me everything, I'll give you nothing, said no one. This is striving. The moonlight penetrates the hillside. The fireflies rise above it. This one's called attainment. The trees growing backwards smell terrible. And this is certainty. Life and death are in this body. Love and hate are in this body. Is falsehood, truth in this body?
It is called now. A moment late is a lifetime of pain. On time is a world of joy. This is called fulfillment. Joy is wonderful, yet somehow peace is more wonderful. And this is called path. This gurgling spring gushing forth. Swim in it, drink it in. This is called wisdom. Here is here if you don't find it. This is called surrender. I want it. You can't have it. I have it. You can't have it. I am it. You can't have you. And this is forgiveness. Fireflies at night are bright. And this is great love. Living for all beings is not attachment to self. Attachment to self isn't real. This one doesn't have a title. Here it is. This one's called No. Others must be right, but they're far away, and every direction is wrong. This is humility. I tried to save everyone, but I saved no one because I didn't save myself. This is desperation. Hope completely lost. I can't even remember how to die. And this is friend. Clinging to perception. Any clinging to any perception is deadly. This is thorough. White clouds drift unmistaken. Some fast, some slow. And this is feeble. Oh, I read this one already. It was okay. Read it again. Where did you come from that you are so alone? That was actually an important one for me. Good, I read it twice. This is piercing. The mountain rises up and shines. And this is full. The birds call back and forth, not flying, singing. And this is open. The big rock is still where it was yesterday. I don't remember it. This is discontent. Where is want? It's right here. It's not. This is diligent. Unobstructed. Clarity emerges, unforced. And this is correct. Without thought, without self, without attachment. And last one I'll read for now is called attention. This joy passes the moment it arises. Thus, joy.
Thank you.
This practice can be done in any physical position. The instructions that I'll give on posture should be considered instructions that apply to all physical positions. And so if at this time you'd like to get up, move around, if you'd like to lie down, like to spend the rest of the period standing, get some water, anything is fine. And as you sit, you can adjust your body, shift, find a position that's a little bit more comfortable, and attempt to use these instructions to give yourself that comfortable posture that will be most beneficial for your practice. Don't allow these instructions to become something special. They're not special. And in the end, they're not even important. It's like a map, maybe you'd say. When you get somewhere, use a map. But once you get there, time to stop using the map. Otherwise, you won't enjoy it. Put the map aside and just explore. Have fun. The same way we have this map. And use it, but don't let it consume or trap your mind. Begin with the lower part of your body, the part of your body that's supporting you. Your hips, your legs. And be sure that that part of your body is a good foundation. Make sure it's supporting you as a good, solid foundation. Maybe you're standing. Use your legs to stand in a way that's strong and light. Maybe you're sitting, same thing. Pay attention to that lower part of your body, hips down. Make sure it's stable.
This isn't preparation for meditation that we're doing right now. We're meditating. This is meditation. The moment you pay attention to whether the lower part of your body is a firm, stable foundation, that's meditation. If we were to do just what I said completely, that would be enlightenment. There would be nothing further. That would be complete awakening. That would be entering the Pure Land. Heaven, you could say. Heaven is not up there. Heaven is down here in our lower bodies. And if we settle into that, we'll find it. The moment we start attempting to settle into it, that's meditation. Then move to your sacrum and your tailbone. That's one part of your body, that axis. And without losing what's called the lumbar curve in your lower back, lower back should be a little bit concave. Without losing that, tuck in your tailbone. And then you'll find your sacrum moves back just a bit on the lower back, so that now you're stable and also rooted in that stability with your tailbone. You're stable in your lower body and you're rooted in that stability with your tailbone. This applies if you're sitting, walking, standing, lying down. In any case, stable, rooted with your tailbone. And come to your solar plexus and lift that just a bit. Lift it out just a bit. So many of us live with our chests tucked in, but there's no need to do that. We have great love. It's okay to open that love to the world. So open that up. And notice as you do that, as you open that solar plexus area, do you lose the groundedness in your tailbone? Is it necessary to rotate back again, to ground again? And then if you do that, do you notice that then your solar plexus collapses? To find this place where the solar plexus is open and the tailbone is rooted, that's a very special place in our posture. It's very subtle. So it's important to pay close attention to this. Close attention to that. Spend some time, you can just play with these two axes. Finding a place where you're open with your solar plexus and also rooted with your tailbone. And then notice if as you do that, you get off balance. You have to find the stable foundation again. I spent hundreds of hours on this over the past few months. So we spend a few minutes on it now. It's a good use of time. And if you find that place, then you'll find that your diaphragm, your belly opens. You'll find that your sacrum and your solar plexus move apart just a bit. There's a little bit more room to breathe. And let your diaphragm relax and breathe in that space. Feel that. There we are. Suddenly we have enough room to breathe in. So many of us push the lower back forward and collapse the solar plexus and crush our breathing. And then that feeling of being crushed extends through our lives and impacts our choices. But for now, root, open, and breathe. And allow that diaphragm to move a lot. I find that it comes out a lot more when I sit this way, and then it collapses a lot more when I, so the movement of the diaphragm goes way out when I inhale and then way in. When I exhale. Again, relax, breathe. And we have 3 points now, culminating in a 4th. 3 points, stable, rooted, open, and there's room to breathe. We're centered, we're balanced in our breathing, in our bellies. So often we want meditation to give us the answers, to give us the right perspective, the right views, so that we can have the right opinions and be right. And other people are wrong, but I'm right, because I do meditation, so I'm wise, clear. I'm going to help people now that I'm right. There's that sense to it sometimes. But I'd suggest that meditation isn't in views or opinions or positions. It's right here, in this moment, in our bodies. To give up that attachment to views, that's meditation, and that's what we're doing by bringing our attention to our bodies. Stable, rooted, open, centered. And finally, this point is one that sneaks up on many of us. Once you're centered in your breathing in this way, attend to the back of your neck, to the very top. We dealt with the bottom of the spine, but the very top of the spine, right beneath your skull. Lift that, elevate that towards the ceiling, so that if you have your eyes open, you can see, so that we're not sitting like this, which is a very common way that people sit, especially if they have their eyes closed. But instead, lift this, that we're looking down just a bit. And that comes with the access. As we open the solar plexus, we also open the back of the neck. As we ground, we also stabilize. And in this way, we're lifted and grounded, open and centered, all in one physical position. To be able to maintain just this position, this is meditation. And just check on these points, these 5 points in our bodies. We just attended to 5 different places in our bodies. The lower part, sacrum and tailbone, the diaphragm, belly, center, core, solar plexus, chest, heart, back of the neck, top of the spine, top of the head. Keep on checking through those. Maybe in order, up, then down, then up, then down, maybe random. But just check on those. Check on those points. And now we're going to go through them again in a very different way. Because, again, we bring so much into this practice, so many ideas. And sometimes it's useful to check on just a few things, just in case we're holding on to certain things as we do this practice. The posture is enough if you want to stay with that, but let's check on these points in a different way. Pay attention again to the back of your neck. And as you lift through the back of your neck, intentionally let go of any desire to get something out of this. In fact, let go of any desire to get something. Maybe we want this. Well, good news. We can let that go right now. We don't have to worry about it. Maybe we want that. Can let that go. Maybe we want to buy this thing. Can drop that. Maybe we want those people to like us. We can drop that. Maybe we want to be good at something. We can drop that. Because this path isn't about acquisition. And so much nowadays, if you read the books, it's all about acquisition. We're going to give you an enlightenment experience and you're going to be enlightened. Just do this technique. And then you'll have happiness, health, maybe even wealth, power, sensual pleasures for the rest of your life. It's going to be great. Well, now is the time to give up the desire for this to be great. Doesn't have to be great. That's a burden. The desire for it to be great is a burden. It's not the practice. So as you lift through the back of your neck, let go of that covetousness, that clinging to sensual pleasure. What sensual pleasure? Sensual pleasure is anything that you can perceive with your senses or your mind that you like. All of that. Now is the time to let go and relieve ourselves of the burden of striving for pleasure. And move down into your chest, solar plexus, heart, and let go of the burden of ill will, hatred, anger. I'm no good. I don't like myself. If I was a different way, then I might like myself, but I don't. And I don't like that person. Why does that person have to be that way? If they would be different, everything would be better. And those people, that group, they're wrong. If I had some way of causing them the pain that they cause others, this world would be a better place. That ill will towards anyone is a burden. And as you move down into your chest, drop that. Maybe for a 1/10 of a second, that's an enormous achievement. Maybe for a whole second, that would be fantastic. But then we check in again. Am I trying to make something good happen? Oh, good, I can relieve myself of that by giving up covetousness and sensual desire. We give up the sense of covetousness, of clinging to sensual objects. We give up ill will and hatred. In our upper body, we drop those. And it's a relieving experience. Oh, good. So much less to worry about. Oh, feels great. If it doesn't feel great, then pay attention. Are either of those still operative? And then we can drop it for, again, maybe a 1/10 of a second. Go down into your belly. And the regrets, I shouldn't have done that. If I could have just done that other thing. And the worries, when this happens, then I better do this. As I'm meditating here, I have to remember to do all these different things because he's telling me this stuff. How am I going to do all these things? I think he said this. And then after, when I leave, these things, these people might say these things. And how will I respond? What am I going to do with my life anyway? Oh, that agitation, settle it out. Oh, as you breathe, calm that agitation. Worry, remorse. It's okay, there will be time for that later. There'll be plenty of time to worry, to have remorse about our actions after this meditation session. In 20 minutes, we have the opportunity to worry about all that. But for now, and there's a use in that, it's not bad, but for now only, set it aside. And feel the relief of setting it aside, even if it's for a 1/10 of a second. Beginner meditators usually try to maintain this for an hour or a week, but advanced meditators try to maintain it for 1 moment. Because that's all that an advanced meditator can maintain it for. Go down into your sacrum, your tailbone, and use this moment to set aside laziness, tiredness, exhaustion, sloth, torpor. Set that aside. Just set it aside. It's just another experience like the other 3 experiences we were just talking about. It's just as an experience. We can just set it aside like any other experience, maybe for a 1/10 of a second, maybe for a second. But in any case, it's possible to set it aside. So we set it aside. And then maybe we get sleepy again. Fine, set it aside again. And maybe we get angry again. Fine, set it aside again. Maybe we get desirous again. Fine, set it aside again. Maybe we get agitated again, worrying about our lives. Fine, set it aside again. Maybe we just want all that to go away. Well, good news. That's covetousness. Set it aside. Maybe we're mad that it's there. Great. Good to know. That's hatred. Set it aside.
Maybe we don't know if it's ever going to go away. Wonderful, that's agitation. Set it aside. Maybe we just want to give up. Great, that's laziness. Set it aside. Perfect every time we can set it aside. Because that's not where wisdom is. That's not where meditation is. And so we might ask, well, okay, where is it? That's what we call doubt. And as you go down into your lower body, set that aside. The confusion about things that are not confusing. The lack of clarity about things about which you are clear. You came here. You are clear about this practice. That's enough. Set it aside. Why are we doing this? How is this going to help me? Set it aside. What's the point? Set it aside. Who am I? Set it aside. Drop it. Then it comes back, great. Drop it. Comes back, great. Drop it. So now we have 10 different points. 5 parts of our bodies that we can associate with in 2 different ways for each. And with all of that done, with that preparation done, the rest of the practice is very simple. Experience the feeling of breathing right now. About that, I can tell you, it is never what you remember, and it is never what you expect. And good news, that memory and expectation fits into the agitation category. So you can set that aside. Set it aside. Experience the feeling of breathing right now. the time for questions, comments, discussion. Or silence, any of it's fine.
I have a question about the pancake story.
Mhm.
You said, you're talking about ethical choices
Mhm.
being the ingredient. And what came to immediately to my mind at the time was thinking.
Mhm.
It seems to me, I'm a pretty ethical person. I make ethical choices
Mhm.
a lot of times. Sometimes I don't make them, but a lot of times I do. But my thinking sometimes is extremely unethical.
Mhm.
Sometimes I feel that gets in the way of I know it gets in the way of my purity.
Yeah, right.
So, can you comment about that?
Absolutely. Thanks for bringing it up. That's uh, in a tradition that I have trained in, that's considered the most important kind of choice. So it's considered it's through the thinking that the most good or damage is done. In Buddhism, they say there are 3 doors. They say there are 6 doors and there are 3 doors. So the 6 doors, you could say, are what comes in, if you want to put it that way, and door, quote, in. It's a metaphor, of course. And that's through our eyes, our ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. That's what comes in. There are then 3 doors going out. And our impact. And those are body. We do things with our bodies. We pick things up and we do something and put them down. There's our speech, which is to say really our relationships. Speech is any kind of communication. Does that make sense? So it isn't just about words, but it is about words also. How do we relate to others? That's a way that we impact. We may not do something, but we could influence someone to do something. And even if they don't do something, we can still influence them. So we can say something mean and they feel bad, something like that. We can say something kind and they feel good. And then finally our minds, our thinking. And there's a certain teacher who I talk about a lot, who I never met. She passed away when I was very young. Her name was Peace Pilgrim. Maybe you've heard of her. But she said something very nice. She said something I really love. She said, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but this is the meaning. If people knew the power of thinking, they would never again think a negative thought. But we don't know. We don't understand how powerful thinking is. And so we think negative thoughts. I think it's a very nice teaching. The influence that the unethical thoughts that we have on our lives, and therefore on other people's lives, is they're much more consistent and powerful than most of us know. And so we end up being, you could say, sloppy around our thinking. The Buddha, there's a
sutra called the Discourse on Breathing, Mindfulness of Breathing. And in it, he said that it's important that you come to the point when you only think what you want to think and never think what you don't want to think. You should be able to do that. And that's it can be a lot of work to get there. But the first step in doing the work to get there is the realization of how important it is. A lot of us have the impression that our thoughts are impotent. I'll just think this thought. And that's why I like this phrase, compromised conscience and half-hearted happiness. This is a good example of it, of a compromised conscience. That I won't do it, but I'll think it, and that doesn't matter. It's okay. And it does matter. So, good news, there are two enormous benefits, for starters, to the experience of not having those thoughts. The less powerful one, this is going to be the less powerful one, is that suddenly it will become much easier to behave in beautiful ways, because there won't be a conflict between our inner world and our outer behaviors. So the outer behaviors, it'll become much, much easier to be beautiful in our outer behaviors, which means that we can make further changes. So when we talk about ethics, it isn't that there's some static way of living that's just better and right. I believe that we should be making ethical improvements constantly, incessantly, from now until when we die. There won't be a day when we get it right. For two reasons. One, we have the humility to know that it's hard to do that. But even if we achieve Buddhahood, nonetheless, the way we behave changes because the world is changing. And you see that in the Buddha's own lifetime. He made rules which he then changed later, because things were changing, partially because of his own teaching. Society was changing, but also society just changes. So we're constantly making adjustments. If we approach this, as I see it, in a healthy way, then there's just a never-ending opportunity for further internal peace. We can always make a better choice. There's always something that we know we should be doing that we're not doing, or we know we shouldn't be doing that we are doing, and it's an opportunity today. Today is the day. So we should be incessantly, constantly making these changes, and we should be making them quickly and completely. So we want to take a small change, small enough that we can completely make the change, and then do it totally and immediately. I don't believe in making a change over time. You make a change in a moment. That's it. There's no this is the last time. Never end. That's it. And so you want a small enough change that you can do that. So if it's something like thinking, then maybe you can't say, I'll never again have a negative thought. There are certainly people who have achieved that, who have gone decades without a single negative thought. Literally, that it exists. Peace Pilgrim was one of them. But that can be overwhelming to say. So we make a smaller commitment. We say, okay, from now on, never again will I have a negative thought between 8 o'clock and 8:01 in the morning. Ever. That's it. I'm making the change. That's it. For 1 minute a day, I won't tolerate a single negative thought. And that may be hard. And maybe I have to turn on really loud, positive music and yell positive things to the world. Just yell thank you 60 times, right? Once a second, and then good news. The minute's over, go back to misery. That's fine, but make the change. So the good news is that change will be much easier to make in our outer behaviors, when we want to make those changes, when the thinking is changed. The other, which is even more powerful, is something I just touched upon, which is that you'll be happier. This is something I saw there. You know, in the cabin, there are things in my life that are hard, that are not the way I want them to be. And I would think about it. And eventually there got to be a point when I thought, wait a second. I already suffer from these things. I'm in a cabin without these things. This is my chance to not suffer. I can suffer in a month or however long it is. I can go back and suffer, right? Good news. You get to suffer a lot when these people do these things and these situations happen and this happens. You can suffer all you want, but now you get to not suffer. And so when we have these thoughts, oftentimes they're not serving any purpose. They are causing us suffering. And we get to be happy. Good news. So you have both of these. One is the external is much easier to make. The other is that the internal gets better. And the internal getting better has, I'm going to say it again, a larger impact on the world, actually. Because that impact is a constant impact on everyone that we meet. They're impacted generally without knowing it. And yet there is the impact, and then they're a little bit happier, and then their decisions are made a little bit less as a result of anger or greed or fear or whatever it would be. And therefore those decisions change the world in a different way. And to have faith in that is a great challenge. But until it's seen, until we've made the change, we have trouble seeing how much power thinking has. And so we have to have faith to start, that the reward will be there. Is that useful?
Yeah, I struggle a lot. You know.
Right, exactly. So struggle, that's fine. We didn't get there. We went through 10 steps, or about in the 20s, depending on how you count it, steps that we could do. But later on, one of the steps is to learn how, so there's the point about you don't want to have a negative thought, but then you have a negative thought. And then it's hard to bring your attention back to something like your breath or a positive thought or whatever it would be, whatever you're doing at the time. That's hard. It's also hard because you can get lost in those thoughts and then spend who knows how long in them, right? That's all a struggle. One of the steps is that, so your mind goes there, okay? Your attention goes here, and then you bring it back. And then it goes there again, and then you bring it back, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the challenges is that experience, that if you want to really take this path far, then that thing happening has to be fun. Has to be like a game. Like, oh, I wonder if I can do, oh, negative thought, I did it. Oh, didn't do it. Okay, get another chance, you know? So I played tennis a lot. It's sort of like tennis, you know? That hitting the ball is fun. Maybe you miss. Okay, good news. There's another one coming. Try again. You miss it. Okay, but you missed or you hit it. In any case, it's fun to play tennis. You know what I mean? Same way, it should be fun to track our thinking. And sometimes we maintain it, sometimes we don't. But in any case, the game, the exertion is fun. Does that make sense? There's this integrity that comes up just because we're working on it, and that integrity is fun. We get to indulge. You can say, I indulge in negative thinking. Well, we don't actually indulge in negative thinking. We suffer in negative thinking, but we get to indulge in the positive experience of having integrity. That's fantastic. And the skill of learning how, oh, I'm sleepy, oh, not sleepy, not sleepy, but then it's sort of fun, right? Thoughts of hatred, setting them, oh, it's fun. Oh, back, oh, ah. It's so, whoa, here we go, wow. You know, thinking of greed, oh, I want this thing, why can't I have this thing that I want? Oh, set it aside, oh, we have to, it's really, it gets to be like a game. And that fun is essential if you want to really go far on this. So that's a place that you get to And it sounds like you're there. It sounds like that's like the struggle isn't rewarding, isn't as rewarding as it is difficult. But you want the reward not from succeeding, but from struggling, from putting out the exertion to be more enjoyable than difficult. And that doesn't mean it's not difficult. It can be really difficult. It should just be more fun. You know?
Yeah, it's always nice to make add the fun quotient into something that you're focused on versus making change.
Yeah, really important. It should be fun because what you want, see, there's a certain amount of pleasure that we get out of negative thinking.
Yeah.
And
That's the problem.
And the shift, when it stops being hard, it doesn't mean it's not exertion. It is exertion, but it isn't hard anymore. Simply when the fun, okay, you need fun. You need to be happy. Your mind is going to search for happiness no matter what you do. It's going to keep on trying to be happy. Okay? So when it's having the negative thinking, you're trying to be happy. That's actually what you're doing. You're doing your best. Think, well, I don't really know how to be happy right now. But wait, I could think negatively about this thing, and then I have some happiness. Well, that's good, because I'm starving for happiness. Okay, if you have the fun of exerting yourself in this way, then that starts to fill the need of happiness. So the pull towards the negative thinking decreases. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So you're beating it in two ways. One, you're beating it because you're getting better and better at bringing your mind back, but you're also beating it because the thing that it offers you, you already have. So it doesn't have as good of a negotiation position anymore, right? So then you just keep on going in this way and gradually, and then there's a point when this is actually simply, it's such as, I was telling Lyda, it's such an ordinary experience. It's not an amazing experience. It just is a life-changing experience. But it's not amazing. It's simply, it's ordinary. That the fun of bringing your attention back is simply more the offer on, what do they call it? Offer on hand? Some offer. It's offering
On the table?
On the table, right? The offer on the table here is just bigger. The negative thinking can't provide as much happiness as this, and then suddenly this just vanishes. It's just not appealing. And the moment that happens, it's so ordinary. It's just like you go to the store and there's this item and this item in there, and this one's a better item at a lower price. So you just put in your shopping cart. And it's not a big experience that you tell people about later. You know, it's exactly like that. It's just this, whoa, well, guess I'll focus on my breathing. Not impressive. So, okay. And then big happiness comes. But to get there, we have to have that sense of exertion has to be kind of, it has to be rewarding. It has to be somewhat exhilarating.
Yeah, I like it.
Even with bad pancakes, there's still the maple syrup.
Exactly. Or even with bad pancakes. So pancakes are a big part of my life. I've made pancakes since I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I made bad pancakes. You can imagine, I was this little kid in the kitchen, and my mother would try to help me. I didn't want that. I am going to make pancakes the way I want to. And so I would. And it's such an interesting thing that apparently, I don't remember it this way, but everyone else does, and they were older, so I trust them. Apparently, the pancakes I made were actually terrible. You know, really bad. They were just awful. Because I was just going to try all the ingredients in the kitchen. I didn't know what goes into good pancakes. So I would put anything in to see, just to check. Who knows? Right? And it was years, I think, before I discovered baking powder. You know, I was just going to try this stuff in the kitchen. I know there's flour. So I put in the flour and then it's just open season,
Oh,
you know? What's this, vanilla, just pour it in. There it is, vanilla. These are gonna be vanilla pancakes. Have you tried pancakes with the whole thing? That's a lot of vanilla. Oh, here we go. So I would have a great time making terrible pancakes. But I had so much fun, I thought they were good. I loved the pancakes. I don't have any memory of making bad pancakes. I remember making these fantastic pancakes. And I didn't know why no one else, I thought they were just being nice. You made them. You can have, it's fine. We'll have daddy's pancakes. Fine. More for me. So I remember them as good. So that's the same as the meditation, right? We're going to start off, we're going to make terrible pancakes. But it's kind of fun to make pancakes. And if you're having enough fun just making pancakes, then strangely, even the bad pancakes are kind of good. You'll enjoy them, even though you'll enjoy the ones you make in a few years more, because they actually will be good. And you had fun making them. You know what I mean? So that's this exhilaration that you want to find in the process of purifying your mind. And then, yeah, you have maple syrup too. You have to have maple syrup.
Or kind of like when you first start meditating and then you discover, and you're suffering for whatever reason in your meditation, but then you or Denise or Lindsay or somebody introduces you to curiosity.
Right.
And then it's
Right.
like it transforms
Right.
everything.
Right.
And then you actually can have fun being curious and it changes everything.
Yeah, the curiosity is another element of this fun or exhilaration or excitement. It's the same part. There's a word in Pali for this, in Sanskrit, which is piti. And it has all of those meanings together. I believe, not that I am an expert, but I believe the best translation of that word is exhilaration. But you could say curiosity or interest or fun. It's very important. You lose that too. That's another thing you have to give up later, but giving that up is better. It gets even better than PT, after PT. But it's very important to have it, to make use of it. Very, very important. And I think because people don't use it, we don't have any substitute, any other option than sensual pleasure, which means that the best way forward is definitely capitalism, and that's the end of life on Earth. It's that important that we cultivate this experience, so that we at least have another option than the underlying craving that most people have that is depleting our planet of life. It's that important. It's a fundamental shift in our way of perceiving life, to find a kind of pleasure that's greater than sensual pleasure. And since we don't have that, we have our economy and military and everything. Because we don't have you will search for happiness. You don't actually get to choose on that one. You're gonna search for happiness. You're gonna crave it and try it. So you need a way to fulfill that. It's very, very important. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the 1 minute of not having negative thoughts project.
Yeah.
And I've heard teachings and it makes sense to me from my experience about that what you resist persists, and that trying not to have negative thoughts is almost like, deciding to have them.
Yeah, right.
So you've been, I've tried using mantras as a way of kind of supplanting them.
Exactly.
And then they just become words, and then I get really good at having all kinds of thoughts while doing a mantra. You know? And, so it seems, I also heard a teaching recently about feeding your demons, about, like the guest house analogy of having tea with your fears or your demons, or, saying, oh, there you are again, and treating them like a gracious host or something. So I'd like to hear it almost sounds like there's a contradiction there, but I suspect there isn't, so I'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, yeah, I think that there's an apparent contradiction. There's a contradiction of technique. There's a contradiction of position from which you view the issue. Doesn't sound like there's a contradiction in goal. Doesn't sound like the goal is different. And so two things. One would be maybe the 1 minute without thoughts project isn't the right one for you. Other people here might think that it's very good, but it might not be the one for you, right? You might want to say, I'll feed my demons from 8 to 8:01 every morning. And so that's fine. That's just your current, we're all on different paths.
Or just try to be aware of them.
Yeah, so then that's your project. From 8 o'clock to 8:01, I'll be aware of negative thoughts as they arise. That's my project. That's my thing. That's what I commit to. I wouldn't recommend committing to something that you can't do. You should definitely be able to do it. This is something I think is really important. People often in this kind of community want to meditate more than they meditate. They want to meditate more than they want to meditate. Because you meditate the amount you want to. So people who meditate more, they want to meditate more than they want to meditate. And so one way that you can increase the amount that you meditate is by making a commitment. You commit, I'll meditate from this time. So someone said, someone came to me and said, I'm trying to decide, should I commit to meditating for an hour a day? And probably I'll actually meditate for 45 minutes a day on average. Or should I commit to meditating for 10 minutes a day, but actually meditating for 10 minutes a day? I would definitely go with the latter. Because trust in ourselves is the whole point of this path. There's no other point. To be able to trust ourselves is everything in this path. That's the beginning, the middle, and the end of this path. The ability to trust ourselves, to be trustworthy, to know I am trustworthy is it. And so anytime we make a commitment to ourselves that we don't follow through on, we're damaging the root of this practice, which is the ability to truly believe in ourselves, to trust ourselves, to have faith in ourselves, to count on ourselves. So I'd say whatever the thing is you can do, and frankly that you would find kind of fun. Like I imagine if someone said, well, I wonder if I can do this, let's try, I bet I can do a minute. Let's give it a try. And they could, that would be great. It would be so much fun. Another person, that might not feel fun. It might feel like pressure or resistance, Like the person who achieved it wouldn't do it through resistance. You mentioned resistance, but you wouldn't achieve it by resisting the negative thoughts. You'd achieve it some other way. So maybe they have that way. But if a person does have that way, then they shouldn't make the commitment to do it because they only have resistance, but resistance isn't going to pull it off. So you don't have a way, so you're not going to be able to follow through, so you should make the commitment. So then if you're not going to do that, then you make some other project, like I'll attend to my negative thoughts as they arise for this period of time each day. And that'll be fun. That'll be interesting. That'll be amazing. I'll attend to them with excitement, and feed them, you could say. So I don't think it's really a contradiction of goal. I think it's just a different way of achieving the same thing, and we all are different, so we're going to have different ways that work for each of us. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, I guess my question is about what's most effective, because sometimes it seems as though there's something that happens kind of in spite of my efforts, so I sit down and I meditate and I do a terrible job. My mind is wandering, and yet there's some healing thing that happens, so that I do start noticing that thought again.
Yeah, right.
Wow. Whereas if I'm not meditating, they tend to just kind of grab me and I go off and I don't even know I'm having them.
Right. So I think you're now rephrasing what I spent a long time trying to communicate before, but I think you're saying it more clearly, and that is that you have fun. The process is actually enjoyable. So it's a terrible session, and yet there's some kind of fulfillment that comes somehow, and that itself has its own value, along with whatever goal or I'm going to make things be a certain way, sort of a thing, in our covetousness side of the practice. So I'm going to covet a certain state that I will achieve, and then I will be a better person. Right? It's all about acquisition of experiences and acquisition of personality and of identities. I'm going to get these things and be this person, and that's all what we actually let go of in meditation, which is what you're talking about. Somehow you let go of that a little bit, even though that's what brought us to the table, right? That's what brought us to the negotiation table. In the end, we get something better. Because all that's actually just burdens. It's so hard to carry that around all the time. I have to be someone and be in a state. It was really funny. I mentioned to someone that brain scientists think of this monk from Japan. I mentioned to him, brain scientists feel like if they can observe the brain closely, then perhaps they can measure the state of awakening. And he was so humble. He just said, interesting. Said, the way I was trained, just my training, that this isn't really a state. It was so nice the way he put it. Isn't really a state. So sweet. That's all he said, just humble. Oh yes, American scientists, maybe they'll succeed at something, but this is maybe, in the way I was trained, this isn't really about a mental state. Anyway, should I have some tea? It was so sweet the way he did it. So we want to acquire a state and own it and possess it and be able to pull it out whenever we want, and it's glittering and I'm a special person. And then you can sell it also. If you have it, you can sell it. So and the thing is that it's amazing that brings us to the table. It's not actually wrong. It's just also not wrong to let go of it. So we drop that off and this other healing happens that you're talking about. And that thing, for that to be fun, which I think your reporting is relatively fulfilling, right? That's what I'm talking about. If that's happening, then we're going to make our way down this path. If it isn't, then this is a brick wall. And we're going to hit it for a while and then find something else to do. Great. Well, we should stop there. Are there announcements about world-changing events?
Yeah, can someone pull up Slack, please?
You have to share with each other how we can change the world this week. It's important.
Is that a responsibility?
Yeah.
So, on Tuesday, attorneys general are meeting in Burlington. Many of them have stepped up to hold Exxon accountable for decades of climate deceit and to fight the broader fossil fuel industry's fraud.
Do you know about this? Exxon knew about global warming, but they said they didn't.
So we need to show that Vermonters thank them for their leadership. that we've got their backs, especially because some of the AGs are being attacked or sued by Exxon and their cronies in Congress.
Oh,
So what is Bill McKibben, Free Ben & Jerry's, and Attorneys General on Exxon New Action? When is Tuesday, June 21st at 4 p.m. and where is Main Street Landing Union Station, 1 Main Street in Burlington, Vermont?
great.
Next up, 80,000hours.org, that's 8 and 4 zeros, hours.org, is offering a guide to having greater social impact in your career. So you can sign up by email and then they'll send you a video and article a week for 8 weeks. And finally, Let's Get Ready is seeking enthusiastic college student volunteers this summer for our Burlington, Vermont program. Help close the achievement gap and get hands-on teaching experience by volunteering 3 hours a week as an SAT tutor and college access mentor for low-income high school students in and around Burlington, Vermont. And that's at letsgetready.org.
Great. Anything else? Gotta be something, yes.
I did a TV show last week on Community Action Television,
Oh, great,
and it was really fun. I was the only one just talked for half an hour, but
great.
it was really fun, and I just think it's a great, we still have the ability to speak our voices on community TV, and there's community TV in every county in this state of Vermont, so people might remember, to do whatever feels right for you to speak up and use the TV.
Great, that's great. And are you on? Can we watch you?
Not on yet.
Okay, let us know.
There's a long story about that,
Yeah, let us know.
but it'll be there.
Great. That's really good. Smart. Mhm.
I think I agree that our insurance-based healthcare system right now causes a lot of suffering in the world, or in the US especially. One opportunity that I have to highlight that is next month when there's an annual public hearing when the insurance companies want to raise the rates. They want to raise them about 8% again this year. So if you get health insurance via Vermont Health Connect and an 8% increase might affect you, there's an opportunity to either write a written testimony or come to the meeting July 20th. So if that affects you.
Great. Thank you. All right. Thank you all for coming. Nice to see you. I didn't feel particularly disconnected, but it's nice to physically stare at you again.
Yes, good to have
We
you
like
back.
staring at you.
And we'll have chanting at 7:15, which afterwards everyone is welcome to join, and afterwards we'll leave in silence.
Yeah.